Hey, what's up? Jim with Major OSC over here. I wanted to make a video about the Novation Summit and the Novation Peak, the brand new firmware. It's Friday. I took the day off and figured it's about time we fuck around with this software and see what it's all about. I have my head perfectly cropped here to avoid the shitty haircut from being in view because I don't know about you, but I can't find a fucking place to cut my hair. Nothing's open. So what the hell are we supposed to do if this continues? Like, I just took a buzzers to my head. In hindsight, I probably should have let my wife do it. She claimed she knew what she was doing, but about halfway in, I'm just like, no, it's taking too long. And just went, let's get started. So the first thing you're going to want to do is go to the online version of Novation Components. I've heard that works better. I'm sure at some point they're going to upload or update the software. In fact, they might have already, but I'm not sure. So we're just going to use this version. You're going to go log into your account, of course. I'm going to sign in with Google because that's just easier for me. And you're in. Now, once you're in, and trust me, it makes it a lot easier. Go to Wavetable Editor. Right, now we're in Wavetable Editor. We're going to click on New Wavetable. Yep, all right. So in this video, most of it, I'm going to be showing you how to use live edit mode to your advantage. That is probably the more fun version than using this. This could be useful, especially when you're building a very custom wavetable frame by frame. But we're going to be importing wavetables from Serum, and I'm sure you could use any other source. But for this example, we're using Serum because there are great wavetables in there. So name your wavetable right off the bat. Once that's done and you've named it, we're going to import it, right? So we're going to click Import, and we're going to go to Third-Party Wavetable. We're going to select our wavetable. I've already obviously kind of set this up to be pretty fluid and quick. We'll select Native Curse, right? And there's a couple of things we're going to have to do on the Peak or Summit to ensure that this is a good way of previewing the wavetable. Oh, and before we get to the synthesizers, one other thing I wanted to show you. The second way of importing is via audio file. If you click on this and you load that same wavetable, you're going to see something different happen. So it's going to show this. And if you click on different parts of the wavetable, you'll hear different things, obviously. Wherever you end up selecting is where it will go. So if that one is the last thing we had selected and then we clicked import, we can import waveform. It'll go right in that slot up there. Usually I only use this method if I'm inserting just a portion of the wavetable or if I don't like the way that it was laid out. Typically when you upload the wavetable with the third-party wavetable method, it'll lay it out automatically, and it does a pretty good job of it too. So, but if you're more specific and it's a more complex, intricate wavetable, you might want to go in there and make edits to each one, or you can do them by hand like this. This stuff, I'm sure you guys are going to figure out. It's pretty fucking simple. So yeah, let's prep the synth real quick. We'll find an init patch, right? Here we are in init patch. Oscillator 1 is going to be the only one you hear. We're going to go to the wave type, and we're going to go to more. Press that button to get to more. Scroll all the way to the right until you get to one of the user wavetables. Let's work with wavetable 7. Fuck it, 7. Right? You can't hear anything, right? Other than this little charming sine wave here. At this point, if you're doing this for the first time, here are some things to keep in mind. User wavetable. Make sure the one that you want it to go to is selected. I already have one saved, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I think even 6. So user wavetable 7 is where I'm going to want this one to end up. When you go to live edit mode, as soon as you turn that on, it's going to override whatever wavetable is selected here. You haven't made saves to the ones that you were prior working on. You will lose them. Keep that in mind. So yeah, just something to keep in mind. Obviously, I've already saved it, but otherwise you will hit save there, and it will save it with that name down here. Okay, so we uploaded it, right? We got user wavetable 7 selected, so let's make sure that matches here. User wavetable 7. Now let's go to live edit and watch what happens. Well, we're now live with this. Anything we do here should be reflected in that. But a couple of things you got to keep in mind. The shape knob is going to depend where you are on the wavetable, obviously. So shape knob all the way to the left should be this one. The shape knob all the way to the right should be this one. So I typically keep shape all the way to the left. Right? And instead of using the mod envelope or the LFO assignments in that same shape knob, I'm going to go to the mod matrix. Instead, I want a more specific modulation. I want LFO1 plus. Sorry, not LFO1 plus minus, just plus. One direction LFO. Turning oscillator 1's shape all the way to its farthest reach. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to switch LFO1 to the saw waveform. And then I'm going to go to the LFO section and I'm going to go repeat 1 and I'm going to make it phase 0. It's going to be a linear kind of travel. And after this, you can just adjust the rate to your... So if I do something here, we'll hear it once it reaches the end, like right when it's returning. So let's test it. Actually, let's work from up here. Let's add a bunch of crazy fucking white noise, and we should hear a little bit more of a kind of a very, kind of the initial transient. Look at that. There we go. One thing you're going to discover really fast is when you start using these tools, you're going to figure out how to make stuff sound smooth versus harsh, how to make it sound swishy and kind of trebly versus mid or bassy. It's all dependent on the shapes you're using. Serum is an incredibly useful way of designing wavetables, not just using it as a synth, but actually using it to design wavetables. I'm going to give you just like a 30-second crash course here. Up Serum here. Okay, so if you're in Serum, you can turn on a bunch of effects. You could do like hyperdimension, turn the mix way up. Probably can't hear it. In fact, I know you can't hear it because SIO is not really connected bitwig to OBS, but inputs are. So you can hear the summit and the microphone. Anyways, from menu, like after, let's turn this to like sync, right? One example of creating a waveform. You can go to menu and then go to render oscillator A warp. What that turns this into now is a wavetable that's based on this. But it's obviously not, you're not moving the sync though, but you're basically doing, you're doing that. And then from there, right? So basically what you're going to hear is something like, this like VSync on the Novation Summit. You're going to hit save and you save it and it saves as a wave file, right? And table, I already saved 2 of my own, table 1 and table 2. One of them is based on exactly what I just showed you. So there's tons of tutorials on this and they are incredibly useful. I mean, it's stuff that I haven't even really wrapped my head around some of it, especially when you start like exporting one and then bringing it back in and then manipulating it again and then exporting it and then combining A and B and then exporting that. I mean, it's just these fucking kids, they figure shit out. Just too much energy, too much time that I wish I had. Anyways, so that's a really, really cool way of kind of getting a good start on a wavetable or something cool. And then in here, you can always tweak it. Let's make this basically like a really big sine wave at the very bottom. To do that, I want to make the grid smaller, much smaller. Actually, maybe a little bit bigger. Okay. That's not good enough. There we go. Oh, look at how bassy it got. I'm going to make the grid a little bit bigger for this one. There we go. Right? We just added some like kind of low end to it. Now, if I make the rate of my LFO, or if you're using an envelope, you can do that. You would be reducing the decay if you're using an envelope. For this one, super easy, just increasing the rate, making the LFO travel from top to bottom much quicker. Now it sounds more like a transient or initial hit. Here's another cool thing, right? Let's add a second layer of modulation. I'm going to go to, maybe I should show. There we go. Okay. I'm going to go to next one. I'm going to make I'm going to make LFO2 plus minus. I'm going to make that dance around with oscillator 1's shape also, but just a little bit. Before I hear it, I want to go to LFO2, make sure that's set to 0. And I'm going to sync both of these. So I'm going to make LFO1's rate to be maybe like 1 full measure. And I'm going to make I'm going to make LFO2, I can't stop saying oscillator. Make LFO2, make that rate 1/8 notes. Sometimes it sounds better than other times. Right. Change the waveform to saw. Well, for some waveforms, it works better than others. Let's try a different waveform. Let's import just another wavetable. Sam speaks. That's a little bit more appropriate right there. Doesn't sound like it's reversing itself. Ooh, that's harsh in the ears. Woo. Another thing, keep in mind, you have the keyboard as a modulation source, as in the location of the keyboard, right? Over here for a sec. All this. So to get there, I'm going to show you a little trick here. Make sure I'm showing it to you visibly. Okay. Switch this to keyboard. Right? Oops. There it is, keyboard, right? Let's turn oscillator 1 all the way down over. I'm trying to give you guys a visual here. I'm turning oscillator 1 all the way down, the volume over here. Sorry. Okay. And oscillator 2. We can't hear anything, right? We're making the destination oscillator 1 volume, or level, rather. Depth 63. So we'll hear it, I'm sorry, depth -63. That should, if I'm correct, mean that we're going to hear it low down here, but not up here. Fair enough. You can hear it down here, right? So that kind of gnarly texture is going to be useful down low when you're playing low ends, right? But you'll have the wonderful ability of playing chords up top without having those crazy harsh overtones. Let's go up an octave. So, yeah, a lot of wavetables, a lot of them sound like shit at one end or the other. They'll either sound great up top and shit, or maybe a little weird down low, or they sound fucking awesome down low and like shit up high. Not all of them, but a lot of them that I've experienced seem to have those traits. One or the other. They're kind of, they're polar up, you know, like they're divided, kind of like our nation. So I like to use that little trick to, you know, to divide things up and kind of create a blend, especially if you're using the peak, because the peak is not multi-timbral. But when you're doing this, you can make it sound pretty damn close to multi-timbral because you just split an oscillator to one side of the keyboard and an oscillator to another side of the keyboard, two different ones. So, oh, terrible today. Anyways, I think that that covers that part for fun little tricks to do with your new Wavetable editing abilities. All that's left to do at this point is, once you're happy with the Wavetable that you've imported, let's try this one here. Very neat. So just to wrap up, LFO2 is a square wave going danum, nanum, nanum, right? And LFO1 is just going dun, 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 right? In a sawtooth wave form. And you could assign aftertouch to move all the way back up into the wavetable, up here again. So let's do that. Let's see how that sounds. Just one last thing before this little thing. I wonder what happens if we assign the mod wheel to VSync. Really fucking crazy here. Neato Frito. Yeah, I hope this was useful to you. When you're done, hit save. You go to save as, right? And then func tut, whatever the hell you're naming it. Once you hit save, it's going to save down here, and it'll be saved to your cloud as long as you're logged in. If I'm not mistaken, I think you still also need to go to the oscillator section. Let's make sure I got a visual here. Get closer here. You're going to want to go to the oscillator section all the way to the right. Now you're on user waves. And find the user wave we were just working with, right? Which is func tut, and then we'll hit save. I think that's what you're supposed to do. I don't know if it saves automatically, but I've noticed in the time that I tried this that when I turned off the Summit to go get a bite to eat and came back, all the shit I was working on was gone. And I have a feeling it's because I didn't hit save. So I think after you're done making all that wavetable and doing your live edits, you're going to have to make sure you hit save over here. Also, once you've saved up here in the in the Novation components, it should switch off live edit mode, which is nice, a very nice feature. Bear in mind, user wavetable 1, if you have something in there, right, and it's not saved down, and it's not saved down here, you turn this on, you've just lost it, I think. I think that's what happened earlier too. So bear that in mind. When you turn on live edit, make sure you're in the right user wavetable. And yeah, have some fun. This is it's gonna be quite interesting, and I think I'm gonna include 10 wavetables of my own creation or design in the next patch collection. And of course, it'll require you to upload them. But so, all right, that wraps it up. Thanks for watching. Hope this was useful. Have fun. Bye bye.